Putting a hatchback on stilts, giving it a rugged bodywork and hoping that it will attract buyers with SUV ambitions is like a man growing his beard for his Tinder profile pic and hoping that women actually swipe right. But guess what? It seems to be working, and now we have a new car that believes in the same phenomenon. And it comes from none other than Maruti Suzuki, a brand synonymous with compact hatchbacks. So putting one on stilts wasn't going to be a problem. But what they've done instead is create an all-new platform which has spawned a sub-4 meter vehicle that looks rather proportionate for its ambitions. Its design inspiration comes straight from the new Suzuki Vitara, which gives it the sleek headlamps and the contrasting roof. The grille retains the detailing from the XA Alpha concept and imparts a sense of width to the face. It attracts attention away from the Force skid plate and is complemented by the fog lamps and turn blinkers which prevent the large bumpers from looking drab. The Brezza has clean lines typical to a Maruti Suzuki, but the floating roof effect gives it a design edge over its stablemates. The taillights have a familial connection to the S-Cross, but the hunched shoulders and the tall stance makes the Brezza appear more like an urban SUV than a car-like crossover. It stands a decent 198mm over the ground, with 16-inch wheels that are shod with fat 215 section tyres that nicely fill up the squared wheel arches. Getting in and out of the Brezza is quite easy too, and the cabin space is on par with premium hatchbacks like the Baleno or the Elite i20, which is good news. Which means that you have ample knee room. Even the headroom is quite generous because of the tall roofline. In fact, Maruti Suzuki says that it has been tested to accommodate up to 18 types of Indian headgear. Now the seat is small like the Swift, so you have a rather inadequate under-thigh support. You could slide your feet in, but I would be a little wary of that because the rails for the front seats tend to jut out quite sharply. The Brezza's got a decent 328-litre boot, which is wide and has a low loading lip. More space can be liberated by dropping the seats flat with their quirky mechanism. The dash has scratchy plastics and the fit and finish all throughout is not up to the mark. Not that its rivals do a phenomenally better job, but its stablemates like the Swift or the Baleno have done better. The cabin isn't off-putting, but I would have certainly liked more flamboyance in here to match the exteriors. This feels like just another Maruti. The Brezza tries to redeem itself with stuff like a color-changing instrumentation and smart play infotainment system, but the latter is only reserved for the range-topping trims, and the lower versions will get a conventional system that could make the cabin look even more commonplace. Adding to that effect are the switches and ports which come from Maruti's common parts bin. The good bits are the automatic headlamps and wipers, cruise control, height adjustment for the driver's seat and for the front seat belts, a separate cooled glove box, a charging socket in the boot, and center armrests at the back and at the front. But guess what? All of these are top spec trim only.
सर गाड़ी 4x4 है क्या?
नहीं सर, फ्रंट व्हील ड्राइव है. Moving on. Now the Vitara Brezza has been received with a lot of expectations. For starters, it borrows its name from the Vitara, which has a rich motorsport legacy in India, and it tries to fill itself in almost the same shoe size as the Gypsy. No, I'm not getting any weird ideas here. I'm not comparing these cars, though it would make for an interesting story. This is a purely urban SUV, front wheel driven by the familiar 1.3-litre Fiat-sourced multi-jet engine. Has the same tune as the S-Cross, 90 PS and 200 Newton meters. A variable geometry turbine aims to reduce the turbo lag. Though it makes for a more linear power delivery as compared to the Baleno or the Swift, it still suffers from a weak low-end punch. Mid-range is strong between 2000 to 3000 RPM and 0 to 100 came up in 13.8 seconds in our test. The Brezza also uses low-resistance tires to aid fuel economy. The trade-off is the tires start emitting quite a bit of noise at highway speeds. And at about 110 kmph, they're joined by wind noise as well. So at triple-digit speeds, this is quite a noisy cabin. The engine is mated to a 5-speed manual gearbox, and like the Swift, it has short throws and is quite slick. The engine demands quite a few gear shifts in the city environment. The clutch is quite light and so is the steering, so urban commutes aren't going to be cumbersome. Thanks to its ride height, the Vitara Brezza has that initial body roll, but the bargain is that you get really good ride quality. The suspension though, typical Maruti Suzuki, tends to thud and crash through potholes and sharper bumps, but thankfully the vehicle doesn't bounce around too much even when you have only one person in the car. Stability at highway speeds is quite decent with the fat tires. The engine feels strained past the 170 km/h mark though. Braking is superb and I love the progressive feel. Driver side airbag is standard across the range. You can have ABS and the passenger side airbag on whatever trim you want, that's optional. Another good thing is this is the first made in India product that has been tested for offset and side impact collision, a test that the ARAI will make mandatory by 2017. In a nutshell, the Brezza drives like a typical Maruti Suzuki, and that ain't a bad thing. More so if you're upgrading from a hatchback. Its balance of made in India and made for India works rather well. There's no doubt that Maruti Suzuki has taken its own sweet time to ready its contender for the compact SUV space. But what they have made is certainly going to create a lot of waves. Now, the target audience is a lot more than just bearded men and pouting women. And probably that is the reason why they are not channeling this car through the Nexa dealerships, but their regular dealership network to ensure better market penetration. Now, the vehicle is not without its flaws, but its pros outweigh its cons. And in that sense, this vehicle may just become the segment leader in its first attempt.